Hello, everybody. It is so wonderful to be out here with you on today. My name is Valerie Harris, and this is your Stepping Up and Stepping Out series that airs every Tuesday at 7 o'clock p.m., guys. And like I've always gone through this routine, this series has been designed to what? To inspire you, to encourage you, to empower its listeners to guess what? Step up and step out of your comfort zone. So, how's everybody doing today? So, last week in our series, we talked about time management. And I gave you 7 tips to practice that would help you to better manage your time wisely. Now, how many of you did just that you managed some of your time wisely last week? So if you did manage your time better last week, type in the chat a 1. And if you didn't do so well, type in the chat a 2, and you're a work in progress. And so just to remind you of the things that we talked about as far as managing your time, the first one was to get more organized. Number 2 was to prioritize. Number 3 was to get laser focused. And number 4 was to use a daily calendar and be able to say no for number 5. And number 6, delegate. Number 7, track your progress. So in today's series, I am going to talk about one of the tips that I gave you on time management, and that tip will be to get organized. So say organized. Type organized in the chat. Yes, and guess what? That includes me. Because in the past, I have found myself to be very unorganized. And it's an area that I really had to work on very hard so that I could fine tune my tasks during the day. And when I was unorganized, for me, I couldn't think real clear, and I was all over the place because I had clutter. And so I wasn't able to finish a lot of my tasks promptly. So I had to begin to work better at organizing myself. Who can agree with me that this has happened to you? And if it has happened to you, type in the chat a 1. Type in the chat a 1. So that means you're in the same boat with me. So tell me if this sounds familiar to you as well. I would start a task, then start another task, and I hadn't even finished the first task I started. If that's you, type in the chat a 1. And if that's not you, type in the chat a 2. So I'm here today to encourage you to work with me to manage your time more wisely by practicing better organizational skills. And so what I'm going to do today, I'm going to give you, I believe it's 5 tips. I want to help you to become more organized, and we're going to do this thing together because I will never leave myself out, because I can always get better at something that I've been working on and practicing. So it's always room for improvement. So the first thing to organize, getting more organized, is to begin to eliminate some of the distractions around you. And I know you can identify with that. And look, how do I know that? Because that is simply what happens to all of us. We have distractions that will cause us not to stay on task and not to be organized with the things that we need to do. It does not matter what role you hold. It is an imperative that we do this thing together to implement a time management strategy that will prevent us from wasting our time during the day. If you agree with that, put a 1 in the chat. And if you don't agree with it, put a 2. So that will prevent us. You won't waste much of your time if you get more organized and set aside the time so that you will not get distracted. And you won't waste your time. And some of the distractions that I'm talking about could be as simple as a TV running, your cell phone, the alerts on the phone or on your iPad that start dinging. As soon as you do something, it start going off. Or working on too many things at the same time. Or trying to answer emails while you're working on your important tasks during the day. If that's you, put a 1 in the chat. And if that's not you, type a 2. So another way we can become more organized, we must try to avoid trying to multitask, because when we try to do a whole lot of things at one time, we will end up not being so successful. And I can speak from my own experience. When I used to try to multitask, I had to begin to refocus on the thing that I needed to be doing the most important, which resulted in me losing time during the day. So it's important that we try to focus at all times, and try to do fewer tasks, and and focus on one particular task so that we can get that task done during the day, and then go to the next task. So then that comes down to us practicing, because it takes practice in order for us to to organize ourselves, to not be distracted, so that when it comes to doing our tasks, we will remember not to start multitasking. So that brings us to number 3. Make a list, guys. I look every day now, I make a list of the things that I have to do, meaning that I start with the most important things that I have to do. Then I will go back to other things that I need to do or that's on that list. But I do the most important things first, and then I start working down my list. I know you've heard this numerous of times, and I'm going to keep on telling us, because the more we hear things, it will be in your ear gate, and you will begin to remember that we have to start with the most important tasks and work down our list, and try not to multitask, because we will make fewer mistakes. And guess what? Like I said, that comes with practice. That comes with practice, and will help us to start with doing the first thing first during the day. And that takes much practice. So that brings me to number 4. And we have to, in number 4, we have to set some realistic goals and realistic boundaries. More so, the boundaries are what we really need to set. We talked about the goals last week, but I want to hone in more on number 4, being having realistic boundaries. And I know from experience that it is hard to set realistic boundaries, because we have to do that in order for us to be more organized. And how do I know this? Because I struggle with this all myself. Setting realistic boundaries, and not practicing to be certain about the things that I have to do, and when to cut things off, because we have to be balanced, and we have to know when to cut that phone off, cut that computer off by a certain time during the day, and that's it. Once we finish doing what we're doing, we need to shut it down, guys, so that we can set those boundaries, so we won't get caught up in neglecting some of the other important things that we need to be doing in our lives, like doing things for our spouse, or doing things for your children, or getting some rest, and that might be part of it, or the chores that we need to do in our homes during the day, and or even sometimes doing something fun, or watching a good movie. I told you I love those action-packed movies. Or it could be a number of other things that I have not mentioned, but you know the things that you need to work on to manage your time by being more organized. It is one of the most important aspects that affects all of our lives. And then the last one, number 5, surrender our organizational skills to the Lord. So what I'm going to do, I want to pray that the rest of this week, that you will begin to manage your time more reasonably, and to organize what you have to do during the week. And I have a scripture that will help us with that. In 1 Corinthians 14:10, it tells us, but all things should be done decently in order. Decently and in order. So if we are all over the place, we're not organized, we're not managing our time, then we are not doing things decently and in order. So we want to line up with the scripture, what the scripture tells us. And there are many more scriptures that you can look at that will help you in managing your time and becoming more organized. And guess what, guys? I want to also remind you again that I want to share my screen with you for a few minutes to just remind you of some things. It'll come up in a few minutes. And like I said last week, these are the things that we talked about. We talked about time management tips that I wanted you to remember, which meant to get organized, to get laser focused, use a calendar, prioritize by saying no, delegate, track your progress. And so from that reminder of tips, I talked to you today about getting more organized, guys. And that's what I want you to remember, that we have to get more organized. And in order to get more organized, these were the 5 tips that I just gave you. And we must what? Eliminate distractions, because there are all kinds of distractions that will keep us from doing what we need to do during the day. Eliminate multitasking so that we will make fewer mistakes when we're doing the things that we're responsible for doing. And make a daily list, guys. There's nothing wrong with that. And that way it will keep you more focused on the things that you need to be doing during the week. And set some realistic boundaries. Look, shut things down at a certain time of the day because you have other responsibilities that you are responsible for carrying out through the day. And I listed some of those. And the last thing was to surrender. Surrender, guess what? Your time and your organizational skills to the Lord. How does that sound? Does that sound all right? Does that sound all right to you today? Do you agree with some of the things that I've mentioned here in this list that I've given you? I just want you to ponder over those things. And guess what, guys? That's all I had for you today. And Talk Time Val is about to, guess what? Sign out. But I want to let you know that I will be doing a boot camp sometime in November, and that will be advertised. And I want you to join in with us with that boot camp, because we would do it for 2 days. And we're going to have an exciting time doing this boot camp. So I'm looking forward to you all signing up to come to this boot camp. There will only be a limited number of seats. And that's all I have for you today. And Talk Time Val is signing out right now. And guess what, guys? I will be seeing you a little bit later. And guess what, guys? Today, for some reason, my computer want to act up, but guess what? We're going to move on. So I will be talking to you a little bit later. Talk Time Val signing out. Go to my Facebook, go to my YouTube, and go to my, and make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, guys. I tell you that every week, to go and subscribe to that YouTube channel. Please go to that YouTube channel and sign up for a meet and greet or a consultation if you want to meet with me.